The story begins with a group of municipal workers, led by this lady, Ingela, who tells them that at last, their days of the office serving coffee and filling out forms have paid off. Their town will now have a modern shopping mall, and it's all thanks to their hard work as a team, and their project leader, Jonas. Ingela says that as a reward, they will all go and relax in a hotel for the weekend, and enjoy some luxuries. But of course, if anyone asks them, they will say they went to a competence development conference. You know, to make it tax deductible. This other lady spends the whole movie smoking, so we'll call her Smoker Lady. When the group arrives at their lodging, we realize that it is a rather simple hotel, in the middle of the forest, and that it is actually very old. All the people of this town are against the construction of the shopping center, and the owners of this hotel are the only ones who support the project. So this is the only place where the municipal workers are welcome. There are 4 staff members working here who will help them during their stay, like this nice chef, who wants to talk to them about the dishes he will prepare, but nobody pays attention to him, and they also knock over the tray with cocktails he prepared. In fact, everything goes wrong for this gentleman. For starters, the stove is out of gas, so he has to go and buy more. But someone put this nailed wood on the highway, and the poor guy gets stranded in the middle of nowhere, where he runs into a strange wire, and is attacked. The Mooney team is preparing for a press conference tomorrow. There, they will have to demonstrate that their mall will be the best thing for the city, and provide numbers and evidence. However, Nadia, a girl who recently joined the team, finds that there are no details about the costs. Jonas tells her to calm down, as he checked everything, and Ingela insists that she still doesn't know how things are done around here. Lena is a worker who was on medical leave for a long time, as it seems she had a nervous breakdown from the stress of the job, so she missed some of the changes in the project. When she reviews the final contract, she realizes that it bears her signature, but it is not the contract she remembers, because in this version no money is being acknowledged to the owner of the land on which the mall will be built. They are practically stealing from her. Annette, this old lady, is also against taking advantage of a family of farmers, but since she is old, everyone ignores her. Ingela says that they can't be questioning everything, because then they will argue, and you know what happens when they argue. Neither Lena nor Nadia understand what she is referring to, but we see that some time ago, the mall project really annoyed an environmental worker called Franz, and he attacked Ingela with a pen.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Since the chef still hasn't returned because he's dead, the other hotel girl is forced to improvise a dinner of hot dogs and frozen lasagna, while her other partner has a beer and relaxes in a hammock. But he is brutally pierced, and this is the best transition in the history of modern horror cinema. Jonas asks Lena for a minute of her time. When they're alone, he tells her she shouldn't question him in front of everyone as it makes him look bad, and she says she just pointed out flaws she saw in the contract. Lena doesn't remember signing this agreement, but Jonas tells her that she probably doesn't remember it because of her stress episode, and that it caused a little memory loss. Nadia, for her part, keeps asking Ingela questions about the costs, because there is nothing in the contract, but she tells her not to be a pain, and that the last thing they need is another situation like the one with the famous Franz. Lena also asks who Franz is, but everyone remains silent. Jonas, to lighten up the mood, takes a sati costume, the official mascot of the town they live in, and comes to amuse his companions and talk about the malls and says they are amazing. But Annette keeps complaining about the fraudulent contract, and Nadia supports her, and Ingela starts to argue with them. So Jonas gets angry and says that they have a bad attitude and do not value that he wants to give them an entertaining show, and leaves very disappointed and angry. In private, Ingela tells him not to worry, and that surely everyone envies him for being project leader, and she will allow him to be the first to dig tomorrow, using this golden shovel at the inauguration of the mall construction project. This makes Jonas very happy, and he rehearses how he will dig and smile for the photo. The lodge also includes a team building program, a series of exercises to reinforce teamwork, and the manager makes everyone hand over their phones so they can enjoy nature 100%. Amir is a good friend of Lena's in the office. She insists that she didn't sign that contract and that they should find a way to compensate the farmer, as they demolished his farm and not paying him would be crazy. Amir tells her that they can no longer pay him, because as soon as they demolished his farm, he unsubscribed from life. For the first team building exercise, the municipal workers are divided into 2 teams to see which one builds a raft faster, and Jonas's team wins. And how I dislike that man. Meanwhile, the mystery killer comes across Zuddy's mask and decides to put it on. And now he has his serial killer look complete. The villain destroys the hotel's internet modem, and since the hotel is in the woods, everyone will be cut off. The last girl of the hotel staff is attacked, and she runs to the kitchen and throws a flying knife at him. But the mask protects the killer. She tries throwing everything in her path, and even spraying him with water. But eventually the bad guy knocks her out with a frying pan and beats her to death with it. The next team building exercise is a sack jumping competition. And then there's a discussion of necessary survival items. And then there's a zipline jump. For the latter, everyone insists that Lena go first, so that she can relieve herself of her stress, and they even bully her to convince her to jump. But in the end, the blonde gets scared and says she doesn't want to do it. While everyone is having the time of their lives jumping around, Lena runs back to the cabins and breaks into Jonas's cabin and searches his laptop and gets emails that prove the mafia she did with the mall project, and puts everything inside a USB flash drive. The team returns to camp and notices that someone stole a bag with their cell phones, and the team building lady acts crazy and goes off to the side, and Jonas discovers that they also took his sooty head. Meanwhile, the mysterious killer chops wood, makes long spears, and sets up a series of traps for his victims. And here we have the smoking lady having a cigarette, and we see the villain passing behind. While everyone is relaxing in the jacuzzi with good music and a few drinks, the team building teacher is looking for her teammates. She finds it strange that there is no one at the reception when she finds her friend hanging. The girl runs as fast as she can, but the killer knocks her out with a huge sledgehammer, knocks out several of her teeth, and then completely destroys her. Lena tells Nadia and Amir about her find, and together, they confront Jonas. As it turns out, this mall will basically cause the municipality to lose millions, and no chain is interested in coming. Bottom line, the mall will be deserted and a ghost project, but Jonas doesn't care because he's already negotiated a new job at a construction company. To achieve this, he had Inga put too much work on Lena, so that she would be distracted. And then he had his friend forge Lena's signature. The corrupt man asks the blonde to talk to him alone and tries to convince her to shut up and cooperate with him, and so he will get her a job in his new company. But Lena is incorruptible. She tells him she trusts him to stop the construction, or she will go to the police. The night progresses and the colleagues are each in their own way, and Jonas's friend was relaxing in the jacuzzi when the killer appears, wielding a pruner or a drill or something. And obviously this guy thought it was Jonas in disguise, but when the killer starts to drill him, we see that it is not the case, and poor Annette was there and runs away because she is too old for this shit. Ingela goes to the reception to ask what's up with dinner because everyone is already very hungry, but discovers that the conference room is full of blood and finds the teeth of the team building lady and runs to ask for help. But the murderer punches her and ties her neck and rolls her up a flagpole as if she was a flag, and the whole team watches this horrified, and now they know that there is a murderer on the loose. Jonas, being the coward that he is the first to run, but calmly because he runs into the cutting threads and slices his forehead. Although Lena helps him and tells him to get up, these two separate from the group and get on the raft they had built earlier. Halfway there, Jonas stops paddling and tells Lena to give him the flash drive, and so he promises her that they will go to the police to denounce the murderer, and all this nightmare will be in the past. Lena hesitantly agrees, but we see that Jonas really just wants to tie up loose ends, and he kicks her out of the raft. However, as soon as he makes some progress, his raft begins to sink. Meanwhile, the others barricade themselves inside reception, and discover that the killer has destroyed the staff phones and cut the landline. In addition, they come across the gruesome scene of the receptionist hanging. One of the workers says that, for sure, the killer is the famous Franz. After succumbing to panic, the team tries to think strategically and decide to equip themselves with all the weapons they can get. Lena runs through the forest, but an axe comes flying at her, and we see that the killer is after her. The blonde stumbles and falls into one of the wooden spiked traps, and here she discovers the late chef. Poor thing. Lena manages to pull out one of the wood and tries to stab the assassin, but as he is too low, she only hits him in the head and knocks him down. Amir leaves his companions to go after Lena, and here he came with his flashlight. When the blonde surprises him and asks him to turn off the light, here comes the killer lurking. So now the two of them go quietly. No one remembers that Jonas had the keys to the car they arrived in, so she runs to her room and looks for her belongings. But the killer surprises her by pulling her hair, and she resorts to Sakura's tactic, and instead of stabbing him with these scissors, she cuts her hair. She finally gets the car keys, but before she can get out, the villain arrives and destroys the lights, and we hear a struggle, and then we see that Nadia finally used the scissors in the right way. However, before the city workers can get into the car, the assassin sticks a Molotov cocktail in it and blows it up. Lena and Amir join them, and now all the survivors are together, but then they remember Annette. Oh fuck, they forgot Grandma. She waited all this time to make sure the coast was clear, and she moves forward a little bit. And Jonas arrives too, who surprisingly is alive. They lock themselves in a room, and the corrupt one laments because his forehead was left all open. Luckily, Annette is a sweet old lady, and she stitches him up. Annette says that maybe this is all her fault, because she told this Franz guy that she was coming to this hotel for her conference and rest. Jonas asks her why the fuck she keeps talking to Franz, and the lady replies that they are good friends. The badly wounded assassin sits on a log and we can see his face. Well, that he's a man, confirmed. But he doesn't look like the Franz we saw in Ingela's memory. The villain takes some pills and now looks ready to get back into action. Jonas and Annette walk to a motorized tricycle, but here comes the killer, and he takes a sickle and chases the duo, and Jonas speeds up and hits Annette to get her to let go, and leaves her there. The lady, convinced that Franz is the murderer, tries to reason with him, and tells him that she is also angry about the construction of the mall, and that it will damage the environment a lot, but please understand that she is on his side. With motherly affection, approaches the villain and removes Zudi's head, but she discovers that this is not Franz. I can't say he killed her because Annette goes off all dying singing around, but oh well. Jonas flees in terror on his motorized tricycle, but runs over some spikes and loses control, crashes into a bridge and falls into the lake. Amir comes across a newspaper, and seems to have solved the mystery. The murderer was not Franz, but the farmer's son who self-morphed. After finding his father hanging in the barn, the boy vowed revenge against that whole mall project, and even told the newspaper, "We won't leave without a fight." It occurs to Lena that they could use the zipline to escape, as it would take them to the other side of the lake. The team crosses the forest very cautiously, all in formation and equipped. But when they see the killer, they all split up and run their separate ways, especially the smoking lady. She goes all the way back to the hotel reception where she hides under a desk. Her companion, who is now an older man, almost has a heart attack from chasing her and finally catches up with her, and of course finds her having another cigarette. Nadia was trying to escape when she falls into a bear trap. Even wounded, the girl takes her weapon and defends herself from the killer, and manages to bury this stick in his eye. The girl screams in pain and everything, but I feel like she got out of the trap pretty easy. I find this scene from the Friday the 13th remake to be more realistic. I mean, a bear trap should be strong enough to hurt such an animal, so imagine what it would do to a human leg. Well, that's just my opinion. It's dawn, and Amir and Lena finally make it to the zip line and get all their gear on, and it looks like their nightmare is finally over. But Amir notices that there are wooden spikes on the other side.
Son of a bitch!
This man gathers courage and rolls onto his back. When Lena finally understands what is happening, it is too late, and the brave Amir dies saving his friend. The old man and smoking lady hear someone knocking on the door, so the mister goes over to ask who it is, and makes the worst mistake in a horror movie, leaning on a door. Then a chainsaw slices off his ear, and YouTube isn't going to let me monetize this, is it?
What do you think?
The old man tells his friend to run and squares up to face the killer, who has just ran out of chainsaw fuel. So the battle begins, and the old man is thrown against a table, and the villain is beating him to death. But here comes the smoking lady with a sickle, and the killer is forced to escape, so smoker lady blocks the door. Her friend is badly hurt but still wants to end this nightmare once and for all. Lena sits down at the foot of a tree to cry and discovers that she was also hurt in the collision with the wooden spikes. She hears a dial tone and discovers the chest with the cell phones of her entire team, so she wastes no time and calls 911. The smoking lady and the old man find Jonas's golden shovel, and use it in search of their prey. But it is the prey who surprises them. And now he is choking the lady, but with the power of cigarettes, she hits him in the head with a bottle, and then she takes impulse and they both fly out of the window. And now he's running at a great speed, but the villain throws a rock or something at her. The poor lady was about to get drilled to death when the old man cuts the power and comes with this kitchen thingy and sets the killer on fire. The duo has finally prevailed, and they rejoice at the imminent end of... Oh, he stuck his head in the water. The villain takes another weapon to murder them.
No! No!
But someone arrives, and using the golden shovel, decapitates the infamous murderer. It's Nadia, who smiles at her companions, and finally, the nightmare of the municipal workers has really come to an end. Lena walks through the forest and sees the patrols passing by, but as she is on the other side of the lake, they pay no attention to her. But Jonas comes along ready to kill her and throws her into the water, and the girl takes advantage of his sliced forehead and brutally scalps him. We can assume that he is now dead. We get cinematic shots of all the deceased, and of Annette, who keeps walking around but eventually collapses and dies. The police arrive at the hotel, and Lena gets help, and smiles with Nadia, and everyone gets medical attention, and the smoking lady has another cigarette. An officer asks Lena what the hell happened here, and she, remembering Ingela's words, replies that they were doing some competence development. We see someone pick up the assassin's mask, and we are shown the same newspaper that says, "We will not surrender without a fight." Anyway, the end.